Hey guys, so before this video starts, if you're a Roux solver, I want you to try this scramble and let me know how you do in the comments below. Okay, spoiler alert, that scramble was for my Roux PB single that I got at home a few days ago, and here's a video of that solve. So I should make it really clear that I did not actually get a 4.86 second single here. I am nowhere near that fast with Roux, and I've been averaging 13 seconds for years now. But what I did get was a 7.64 second single with that scramble off camera, and I don't have a recording. So what you just saw was just footage of me re-executing the same scramble, just to show you how lucky the scramble was. So something's crazy lucky about it, and I want to show it to you right now. This is the scramble, and right off the bat, it doesn't look all that special. And I think the first thing I notice is with this red center, there's an attached red-white edge, and there's a red, white, and blue pair. So you can solve this pair by doing R, U prime, B, which will create this red, white, and blue square. But if you look for the other pair of the first block, which is the red, green, and blue pair here, you can see it's misoriented in a bad way, and they're attached. And when you do those first three moves, they stay attached in that bad way. See, they're still back here. And I just felt like there wasn't a finger tricky way to solve those, so I gave up on the red-white block entirely. And when I was looking around the cube for anything else to work with, I found this other free pair. And since it has the down left edge here, what I'll do is I'll just hold that in place as if this is the solved chunk. And then I'll look for the corresponding center, which is the green center here, and its edge, which I guess is the front left edge, which is the green-red one, which is here. And when it's like this, you can solve it with RU moves only by doing wide U, R prime, wide U, and there you go, there's your green, white, and red square. But when we're back here, you can notice that, okay, the green and orange edge, which is opposite this guy, will kind of go along with the ride, and it'll end up in the solved location. So all you really have to do to finish off the first block is look for the back left down edge corner back here, and then your first block is done. So is there any way to get that in there as well? Well, it turns out that the green, yellow, orange corner is right here, and all it takes to put it into the correct spot is an R prime, or what is that? B prime. But B prime is also another way of connecting these two edges to be opposite of each other. So really, what you might notice is that if you hold it in this direction, the first block can be solved in 2 moves. And I guess that should have been easy to find from the beginning, but all you have to do is an F prime to create both lines, I guess, and then a D2, because now you have all these attached, and your first block is done in 2 moves. If you're not a speedcuber, all you really have to know is that a 2-move first block in Roux is crazy lucky. And in this speedsolving.com forum thread posted by Onion Honey, they showed statistically that the average first block takes around 6 or 7 moves to execute. And from my own personal experience, it might take 8 or 9 moves because I'm really inefficient. But that means we're talking about a first block that takes a quarter of the time as typical. Now, I can't typically plan more than first block in inspection because I'm not that pro, but I know some people are. But in this case, the first block solution is so short, F prime D2, that you might as well. So let's look at the next stage of the solve, which is the down right edge. In this case, that would be the blue and yellow edge. Where is it and where is it going to go? Well, the blue and yellow edge is right here. And F prime will not move it, and D2 will just bring it round to the other side, with the blue side actually lining up with the blue sticker. So that means it's actually going to end up in the solved location. So in 2 moves, F prime D2, we get first block plus DR all solved, which is even luckier. So with that, being pretty easy to plan, let's think even further, which would be the first pair of the second block. Well, you might already see what's going on here. We might as well look at the back right pair, which is the blue, orange, and yellow pair. So here's the corner and here's the edge. Where are they going to go? Well, the F prime will bring this guy up here with orange on top, and the D2 is not going to move either of these guys once they're up here. So you can see that if we have blue and orange here, and then we'll have blue and orange here, that's just going to be a 3-move insert, and it needs to go into the back. So just 3 moves and it's done as well. So the solution now looks like F prime D2 r prime u prime r, and there you got first block and second square. So let's undo that again. So that's the limit to what I planned in inspection in my actual solve. And I didn't think of going any further because to plan first 2 blocks in inspection sounds ridiculous to me. But in this case, like, it's actually not that far-fetched. Like, I'm like really not that good of a solver, and I think like if you're intermediate Roux, this isn't even that hard. So the second block pair, which is the front right pair, is the blue, red, and yellow corner, which is here, and the blue and red edge, which is back here. So the F prime D2 is not going to move the corner, and then when we insert the first pair, it's R prime U prime R. The R moves are not going to affect this guy, but the U prime will bring it over here with blue on the front and red on the top. Okay, blue, red, blue, red. What about the edge that goes along with this corner? It's down here. The F prime is not going to move it. The D2 will bring it here with blue on the bottom. And then the R prime U prime R insert's not going to move it, so it's going to actually still be here with blue on the bottom. So if we have blue, red here, and blue, red here, they would line up with an M prime. So actually, let me just show you what that would look like. F prime, D2, first insert, they're here. And you could line it up with an M prime. But in Roux, you can just insert things with wide R's like this, and that solves second block. And I feel like this is something that, you know, if you only solve with CFOP is not completely apparent, because it wasn't to me when I started Roux. But what that means is, let me just undo all these moves. From just the initial scramble and inspection, like planning first 2 blocks is just planning 8 moves that are all pretty clear to see. And I think that's crazy. At this point, I think it would be fully ridiculous to try to plan any more from inspection. I mean, trying to look at CMLL when you haven't even done any moves yet is just absurd. So let's just do the 8 moves that we've already planned so far, and we'll think about CMLL when we get there. So again, those 8 moves are F prime to create these 2 lines, D2 to line up the lines and put in the DR edge, and then the 3 move insert for this pair in the back, and then there's the 3 move insert in the front for these 2. And, you know, we use a wide R to line them up and a U prime to bring it over. But instead of a wide R prime to bring it back down, it's just going to be a normal R prime so that the yellow and white centers can stay on the top and bottom like we want it to. At this point, you might be thinking, oh my gosh, we have a CMLL skip as well because it's all white on top. But of course, it's a diagonal permutation, right? Like opposite colors everywhere. And I actually think this is quite interesting because there's a lot of fun facts about this CMLL, which I execute with a Y perm. I'm sure there's something better and more efficient out there, but I just use a Y perm. So fun fact number 1 is that it's the only CMLL that you can execute from any permutation or any AUF because it's symmetrical from everywhere. So this is how we got it. So because of that, fun fact 2 is that it's the rarest CMLL. Because of all the symmetries, it's just as likely as a CMLL skip, which is 1 in 162 chance of happening. Most other CMLLs have 4 times that likelihood, I think, but this one is 1 in 162, so you are just as likely to get a skip as this. Thing 3 is that if you do a Y perm, which is 17 moves, that's the longest move count CMLL that you'll probably ever do. So I'm just going to do it. Oh, and then fun fact 4, which is actually relevant in this case, is that because it's a PLL, which doesn't orient any pieces, the edges on top will actually stay in their orientation when you're done. So you can see we have the bottom is all oriented and the 4 on the top are flipped. It's going to stay that way after the Y perm. So look at the 4 bad ones. We're going to do the Y perm. Oh. And we still have 4 bad ones on top, 2 good ones on the bottom, and the corners are solved. So now we are done with CMLL and we're on to the last step, last 6 edges, Lse, which I guess is the most Roux-y step of the solve. And we have this case where it's the left-right edges are here, like across from each other. And in these cases, what I do is I just do like an M prime, and then I just try to solve the LR edges into the correct spot, and the rest of the edges will be oriented correctly by that point. So with an M prime, with a U2, then they're kind of diagonal from each other, and now we gotta like pair them up and put them at the bottom, like this. Now they're opposite from each other and they're on the bottom. And then when they're on the bottom, then you have like opposite colors on the same side, because now you're ready to do the trigger to put them up into the correct spot, right? And M2 will take them from the bottom to the top so that green lines up, blue lines up, and then we can, you know, line up the full left and right edges. And now we're at stage 4C, which is just the last 4 edges, and they're all oriented. And we have a 3 cycle. So this is the wrongest edge. It needs to go diagonally across. Yeah, I don't want to explain how to do this, but you just do like a U2 to bring it closer to where it wants to be, then an M prime, and then now it's even closer to where it wants to be, and then you're solved. So the solve is done, and in total it's 38 moves, which is pretty low, but of course the Y perm like boosted that up way higher than it needed to be. So like I think even calculating the TPS on that solve, it's going to be artificially high because of the Y perm. But what I want to point out is that although I executed the 38 move solution when I got the 7.6 solve, I think that's not even 5 TPS, but whatever. You can actually cut off 3 moves with something that I don't think anyone could really predict, or at least I couldn't. So okay, here's the scramble again. Do the first 2 blocks exactly the same way, like that. Do the Y perm exactly the same. But with this case, do it differently. So okay, I didn't give this a name, but this is, I guess, EOLR. And you can see here that it's symmetrical along the S plane. So front, back are essentially the same. So instead of doing an M prime and then trying to pair up the LR edges, what if you do an M and then try to pair up the LR edges? If you do that, then these guys are going to be pushed to the bottom that way. So now they're down here. And then when you put them in like this, you actually get a 4C case that like cancels in a way. I don't really know what you would call this, but if you line up like the left and right sides with their opposites, so you know, blue and green, then you actually sort of skip 4C because it's only 2 moves. So in the end, that LSE is only 10 moves, whereas the original LSE was 13 moves. And like if you go by double turns or QTM, you went down from 20 moves on the original down to 14. So that like it's a huge drop. And I guess what I think is interesting is like I don't know if anyone could have predicted that, right? Like if you're a professional LSE executor out there, could you even see that coming? You know, when you're in this case, is there even any way to just look at this and know that this will give you a solution much longer and less efficient, whereas this will give you a solution much shorter and more efficient? I don't know if there is a way, so you guys can let me know. What's crazy to me is that it's actually my 3rd fastest solve ever, including with CFOP. And it's strange to me that with CFOP, a method that I'm over a second faster with on average, I've only gotten 2 solves faster than 7.6. And CFOP is supposed to be the method that's less consistent and has more lucky flukes, you know, more PLL skips. You would expect the consistent method to give you a good average and not so good singles, and you'd expect the fluky one, like CFOP, to give you not that good averages but really good singles. But this single, at least, breaks that rule. And why does that happen? Well, that's because random chance is unpredictable, and PB singles don't really tell you that much about a person's actual solving performance. Okay, I'm kind of rambling at this point, so I'm going to end the video now. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye!